Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you for that reminder that we are coming through things, and things are here to experience and to move past. So it's a wonderful reminder. We're doing this together. The series that we are using this month, Reverend Michael really sort of kicked the door open on this one. He decided that March would be the month of change, and we would talk about using spiritual tools for change. I tell you what, this is a much steeper climb than I think we thought. And so when he invited me to, bring up the closing talk on the series in March, I thought, well, he'll be going through transformation and personal and the change in the world, and what will be left for me? So I thought what I will talk about instead is more or less how it is that what is it in change and using spiritual principles, the revolution of spirit, the evolution of us? How will we take what we have been learning and really move it out into the world? And you know what? It's perfect timing for that. It really is. So I was going to call this, We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. But it's kind of overused. So I decided not to do that. And I found, I traced it back to a Hopi elder who I think, first used it. It's open for debate, I suppose, but it's a beautiful teaching in it. And instead, I have called this, if not us, who? So that we really recognize that in our own becoming, that we are becoming on purpose, and that it is a we thing, not just an I thing, that is being called out of us. That Hopi elder also recognized that in this quote. He says, "You've been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water, your sustenance? Know your garden. What is it that you're planting? What is it you draw from? It is time to speak your truth. For if not now, when, right? Create your community. Connect up. Draw resource from each other. Do your part. And be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for the leader. We're good at that. We keep waiting, scanning the horizon for somebody else, don't we? Somebody who knows, somebody who's going to save us. But that time is past. It's us. So then he clasped his hands together, he smiled and said, "This could be a good time. There's a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river. Keep your eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Gather our imperfect selves at this inconvenient time. Bridge the divisions that we have been all too aware of, and come together for purpose. I really feel in the depths of my heart, this is a pregnant time, a fruitful time. It is a time of serious concern. There are things happening that will be challenging for many of us to walk through. And yet, walking through it together makes us stronger and enables us to learn and grow through it and comfort each other and support one another. There's never been a time like this, certainly not in our lifetimes, as important, as clear, and as uncertain. And in that uncertainty arises great possibility. Right attitude, right connections, restoring of our hearts is what's important. Maureen Murdoch says, we must have the courage to live with paradox, the strength to hold the tension of not knowing the answers, and the willingness to listen to our inner wisdom and the inner wisdom of the planet that begs for change. We've been begged, and we kept doing the same old, same old. And now a possibility exists. In fact, what was is broken open. We won't go back to the way things were. We will forge new paths from what we learn from being together and being apart from one another. You know, some people say the social distancing and everything is reminiscent of the Jewish form of Sabbath. I've studied that a little bit and recognize, gosh, what a great way to celebrate a day, every 7 days, this opportunity to just relax with family, eat at home, turn off all the electronics, go out for walks, ride bikes, swim, take naps, play games, be with the people you love, eat good, nourishing food. Yeah, what a wonderful way to celebrate. Why don't we all make that plan? Why don't we all do that? That's a beautiful way of looking at it. I think that I would add to this social distancing time or this isolation that we may be respectfully doing is to, in a way, to keep other people safe from us and us safe and healthy in this time. But at the same time, we're doing some other things in addition. We are also taking walks outside and feeling the experience of being in nature together. We are also going online and connecting up, just like you're doing right now. You are feeling, I trust, a sense of community that you can't see, but you can feel. And we are starting to feel one another at distance in a way we didn't when it was easy to come together, to get our hugs and to get our touches. The value of human touch has never become more prevalent. I'm having slip dreams. There's people who have recovered from alcoholism or drug addiction, in that early stage, it isn't uncommon for them to have sort of nightmarish dreams that they're using again. And they wake up sweaty and scared, and they feel it was very real. And I'm feeling like that with the withdrawal from being able to touch people. I keep waking up thinking, did I touch you? I wasn't supposed to touch. Did I hug? Was that wrong? I can't digest when I wake up how wrong that was. It just I was like, oh, I tell you what, I have realized that this touching thing and hugging is so much a part of my ministry. I'm going to have to change professions if this lasts much longer. I just can't keep doing this. But this whole thing is teaching us, isn't it? It's bringing awarenesses to us and things that we've overlooked for such a long time. The idea of, as I said, the value of human touch never really has been so prevalent. And I would say, too, that there are some other things that we are learning. What wasn't possible now seems possible. And we have the opportunity to make new habits, things that we can change and go in different directions, because things will not go back to the way they were. We can't unknow what we are learning and what we will learn through this together. Spending time sitting in nature, sitting in the quiet. Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen wrote a book called Kitchen Table Wisdom. And in it, she tells a story about when she was a teenager, young girl. And she had an assignment to go on a service project to a nursing home. And she took with her a basket full of some ribbons and some twine and some buttons. And it was to sort of string some things together and just to make small talk with an elderly person. So she knocked on the door and went into the room. And when she did, the woman was sitting near the window, looking out the window. And she didn't turn. She didn't acknowledge her. She didn't do anything. She didn't say anything. And she was turned away from her. And so she said a couple of other things just to try to get her attention, just to let her know that she was there. But the woman didn't respond. And she was very shy. And she wasn't sure what she was supposed to do. She didn't have that instruction, what she was supposed to do. So in the quiet, she decided to sit in the chair with her basket in her lap and wait and see if the woman would respond. And as time went on, she just sort of fell into the quiet of the room and the silence and the calm. And so she sat there with her and didn't say anything else. And then soon, after some period of time, the bell rang that told her that the time was up. And so she gathered her things together and she stood up and she looked at the woman who hadn't moved. And finally she said, "What are you looking at?" And at that, the woman turned and she acknowledges her for the first time and her eyes are shining. And she says, "Why, child, I'm looking at the light." Dr. Remen says that years later, when she became a pediatrician, that she would look at newborn children and watch how they would track with the light. Their eyes would always turn, straining for the light, as though they were listening for something. She later, as her process developed and as her practice changed, she began to help people who were at the end of their lives, who were terminal, make sense of their lives and prepare themselves, find peace and meaning of what their lives have meant. And in that was an opportunity she had with a man who had terminal cancer of the pancreas, and all treatment was already done that could happen. And he was there just coming to deal with his emotions and kind of process his feelings about his life. And so he came to her one time after they'd been meeting for a while and said he was anxious and that he needed something to help him sleep. And she said, "Are you having dreams, some bad dreams?" And he says, "Well, no, just the one. The one where there's something invisible chasing him. And he enters this dream and he feels that it's there and he starts running and it follows him and it's chasing him. And he runs and runs until he finally wakes up sweating and scared." And she says, "Well, what would it be like if we just enter into that dream now?" And so she invites him to sit and breathe and relax and close his eyes and to enter the dream. And does he see it? Does he sense it? Yes, it's there. And he starts running. And so she says, "Well, become invisible." And he says, "It can see me." She says, "Hide." It knows where I am. She said, talk to it. She says, it doesn't answer. So she's thinking, how can she break this pattern? She's thinking about that. He knows, he says, that it's not evil. He knows that. In fact, it might even be strangely normal or natural, but he doesn't know what it is. He still can't see it. So then she says, well, I guess the only thing left is for you to stop running and let it eat you. And suddenly, he starts violently shaking and sweating. His eyes closed, and he's weeping, and he is going through a very intense period and rocking back and forth. And then finally, after some time, after she's already long doubted that this was the right thing to direct him to do, he stops and calms and breathes, and more time goes by. And then he says, there's light. There's only light. I am light. And opens his eyes and looks at the doctor and says, wow, he says, I don't feel any anxious or anxiety at all. He says, that was great, doctor, thank you. And he leaves. And sometime later, she's thinking about him. He hasn't come back, and she calls him, and he's matter of fact, happy to talk to her. She asks how he's doing. He says, well, not good. All the symptoms have come back. He's doing a lot worse now. But he's real matter of fact. He's not anxious. And so she asks him, she goes, well, what do you do with your time now? And he says, I'm thinking about things. She goes, like what? And he says, well, like this morning. He said, I was getting ready to get out of bed, and I was thinking, I felt like there was something right out of this corner of my eye, like a wall or a barrier or something. And it's weird, but I've always known it was there. I've just never seen it before. And he said, I know I'm on this side of it, but I also feel like I'm on the other side of it too. He said, isn't that strange? She says, well, how does that make you feel? He goes, oh, well, kind of peaceful and joyful, like I felt in your office that day. Yeah. Yeah. And then he kind of chuckled and he hung up. 3 days later, she got the call that he had passed. She said, I don't know if he passed more peacefully, but she said, all I could think of was the sound of his laughter. Light. Light. There are more things between heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophy. More things than we think we know. Things we discover when we stop knowing. Jennifer Wellwood said, willing to experience aloneness, I discover connection everywhere. Turning to face my fear, I meet the warrior who lives within. Jesus told us that he was the light of the world. He would told them, I am the light of the world. And it's easy to see that. 2,000 years later, we know by the virtue of the writings about his life and the miracles and the wisdom that he taught, the way that he lived his life, the things that still impact us, teach us, and show us the way. One life knowing it's the light. And if we believe that, we should also believe his other words that told us we are the light. You are the light of the world, he said. We are the light, all of us are. Not just one, all. And if that's the case, that if we are made for this time to bring light to the world, And if one life can be so impactful 2,000 years later after it fully displayed light, what could happen if the world became full of lives willing to shine the light they are? What is possible for us to do? What could happen? Katie O'Meara wrote a vision. Many of you might have seen it already on the internet. It seems to be circulating. It seems so prescient for our time. She wrote, "And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced. Some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently, and the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed." Thomas Merton says, "You do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it is all going. What you need is to recognize the possibilities and challenges offered by this present moment and to embrace them with courage, faith, and hope. Maybe that's all we do. Maybe that's all we can do. Maybe that is exactly what we are to do. Maybe that is enough. Oh, and to remember that there is light. There is only light. I am light. You are light. We are the light of the world. If not us, who? God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.